What up, world? DJ on the Mac. What coming in with that fresh deck profile in 2.5 format. And you know when the levers are on, we have to go in with Beelzemon, baby. Because let me tell you, it's got some new support and I'm kind of feeling it. I'm feeling it. And I want you guys to feel it too. So if this is the video for you as I go through the deck ratios, tech, and all the sauce, that makes you stick around and enjoy it. If you're new to the channel like what you see, levers included, then make sure you subscribe and turn the notification bell because I do videos on the reg for real, for real. So further ado, let's get to the list, people, because I know you guys are thirsty for it. What? Yes, sir. Okay, let's get into those ratios. Starting off with the eggs, still the old faithful, still the best in slot. It is going to be the starter deck Yarmon. Obviously, for our when attacking effect, we wanting to obviously trash top two cards off our deck, which is just vital for us to obviously meet our trash totals, which ideally we want to be at that sweet 20. That's when we're going to be popping off, and that's when we're going to be clapping those cheeks. So that is it for the eggs, the standard. Now let's go over to the rookies. Rookies, we've obviously gone heavily on the Impmon name. So as standard, we do go in with the 4 starter dog Impmon, really strong, obviously able us to kind of clear any floodgates when we are at our champion and upwards. And then, you know, if we have to clutch in an absolute win, the when attacking really pops off hard, especially if you do have X antibody in the source, because we're able to evo into a Beelzemon from our trash. On top of this card, we're ignoring the distribution requirements for the cost of 3. Absolutely massive, really solid. Then we supplement that up with the Impmon X antibody, really good card in order for us to obviously, you know, utilize our trash in order to kind of go up our line by trashing an option card, which once again we can control the placement, we can get cards back from the trash, and then we're able to pick out a pretty much any of our line, which is very crucial. Obviously, the when attacking is going to be good for us to once again trash top 2 cards of our top of our deck. So once again, reaching that trash total of the sweet 20. Now we go with the new support, which is obviously going to be the BT19 Impmon, rocking that at 3. And the reason why this is actually really good in this list is because the on-play is able to help us play out our Tamers from trash, which has always been a thing that I've been a little bit annoyed about with the deck. When we trash our Tamers, realistically we have to like utilize our rivals effect in order to kind of get that back. If we really want to get a tamer out, this just really facilitates with our tamer setup really nicely. And on top of that, it has a pretty much a strong inheritable of retaliation, which is quite nice. So obviously if we do evo into this in the back and then go into this, it means that we still be able to kind of get our trash filled up from this effect, but we do have a cheeky retaliation in case we have to just simply just swing into the opponent's Digimon in order to get rid of the threat. And then the honorary member, which is obviously going to be the restricted EX2 Impmon. We still run that at 1 because, you know, it's just such a cracked card. Helps us, you know, get to our trash totals. We can get the search if we want to. 9 times out of 10, you're going to whiff on it. And inheritable really does help in order for us to reach up to some very high DP thresholds, because we are in a meta where we're going to be facing off with very high DP Digimon. Just having that additional 3k DP if we're at Beelzemon is going to be crucial for us to make sure we swing a little bit safely and survive. So that concludes that for the rookies. Now going over to the champions, kind of a small package on this bad boy. We keep it simple and clean. We go in with the Wizardmon starter deck, which you do get these in the starter deck. It is also classed as a promo. At 4, this is just great, and obviously when it's trash, we're able to gain the memory. So cracked when this pops off, and that when attacking really is helpful because we're able to load up a purple card from our hand and then put it to the top of our deck. We do have to reveal it to the opponent, so yeah, make sure you do that. But once we are doing that, we can obviously do some crazy combos with that, depending on obviously what you placed on the top. And then we go in simply with the Beelzemon X antibody at 4 there as well. So this is good obviously to help us trash 2 off the top of our deck. And then if we either on top of the Beelzemon, instead of trashing 2, this stack does gain blocker to the end of the opponent's turn, which does come up quite clutch. And then that inheritable once again further facilitates the plan of when attacking, trash top 2 cards of our deck, which is obviously going to be helpful for us to once again reach that sweet 20. So that concludes there for the champions. Now going over to the ultimates mainstay, we go in with the Bowl from the starter deck. Absolutely strong because of the when Digivolving, also the 2 when Digivolving effects is able to trash top 3 cards of our deck, huge. And then also the when Digivolving, if we have 10 more cards in trash, this Digimon does gain on deletion, and we're able to play a Beelzemon from trash without paying the cost. So as long as we've got 10 cards in trash, we will be able to get this effect off. If you're not got 10 cards and they happen to delete you, unfortunately, you will not be able to play that Beelzemon. But even if you have a few cards in trash and effectively they delete out your stack, realistically, you're going to have 10 cards in trash in order for you to kind of pop off. And then we just lastly close off with just the 2 Bowel X antibody. So once again, similar effect to the actual start deck Bowel is that when we Digivolve not on top of a Bowelmon, we're able to trash top 3 cards of our deck. But if we happen to Digivolve on top of our Bowelmon, we're able to delete we're able to delete a level 4 Digimon. With this in our source, obviously there as well. One of the main effects is that we do have that X antibody recursion, which is really sick because we do run X antibody. We do want to kind of recur that in order for it to kind of pop off and do our plays and be a little bit more aggressive. So this is the reason why I've bumped this up to 2. Also as well, that inheritable further 2k DP boost, which this start deck one has as well, which is absolutely massive. So realistically, our BLs are going to be nicely at a 15 to 16 DP threshold, which is pretty nice. It means that you can swing it over most Royal Knights, obviously as that deck is getting more popular, and just means that you're going to be, surviving on board when you are swinging. So that concludes that for the ultimates. Now let's go to the megas. Megas play a massive part here, and I really lean into the EX6 BLs. I run it at 3 because it's just such a good card. The fact that it's got that on play and when Digivolve effect is really awesome, but the key thing here is the rush is huge because we've got ways to essentially get out our Impmon. We've got ways to actually evo into our Beelzemon. With Tamer effects, like having rush is just massive. But the on play and when Digivolving is that we're able to trash the top 4 cards of our deck. Then if we have 10 or more cards in trash, we're able to Digivolve 2. Really powerful in this meta. Digivolve is an absolute menace right here. So Digivolve and rush, absolutely flawless. This is the boy that you want either in your hand or in your trash. Then we complement that with the Beelzemon X antibody. This is once again part of your win condition because realistically, when you either on top of a Beelzemon or you have X antibody in the source, we're able to trash the opponent's top security per 10 cards that we have in trash. So obviously if we have 20, we can trash up to 2, and if we're in mid swing, effectively, we're trashing 2, swinging for 1 check, really heavy damage, or it is a really good effective game ender there as well, which is just huge. And then it also has the on deletion that you're able to play an Impmon in name from trash without paying the cost, which once again, nice little floating effect. We'd love to see it. So obviously you can combo that up with essentially BT19 Impmon, be able to get a Tamer out if you've not got one or fewer, which is once again really massive. You can play starter deck Impmon there as well. There's so many plays that you can do with this particular card. It is amazing. Then we go with a classic EX2 Beelzemon. It's absolute mainstay. This card is just super strong, just enabling us to effectively control the board efficiently. Depending on how many cards are in our trash is huge. And then obviously able to effectively trash more cards when attacking there as well. And it is when Digivolving and when attacking, and it is not once per turn, which is once again really massive. And then if it's trashed off top of your deck, you're able to play an Impmon from your trash, which, like I say, amazing combos, free setup potentially. It's a really strong card, and it's going to be an absolute mainstay. Now let's go over to the level 7. So level 7 is obviously we've got a new kind of tech card that we can now run, and that is going to be the Beelzemon Blast Mode Ace. So initially I thought this card was a little bit lackluster, but actually reading it is pretty strong. So obviously we do have the blast, so you can throw it down for 8 if you want to, treat yourself, you know how it is. But it's got on play when Digivolving. Delete one of your opponent's level 6 Digimon, and then if you have 10 or more cards in trash, you're able to just delete one of the opponent's Digimon. So obviously you're kind of capped if you have got 10 or less by level 6, which level 6 is quite high in terms of the threshold, but as soon as you kind of hit over that, you are pretty much comfortable to delete anything on the opponent's side. And then you just have a when attacking once per turn, you're able to return up to 10 non-Digimon egg cards, so basically no eggs, to the top of your deck, which actually is pretty crazy, because I thought it was the bottom, but actually it's the top. So you can literally set up an amazing chain in terms of like what you want to return back. So when you are swinging and you've got obviously your inheritables that are going to be trashing your cards, you can load up pretty much like Death Slingers, Rival Barrage, you name it, you can stack it, which is really strong, which actually has changed my opinion of this card. And then if we do this, we're able to trash the top card of the opponent's security, which once again is a little, quite a good game ender right there. So definitely run it in a nice cheeky one-off. And then I also still run the one-off of the Beelzemon Blast mode from the starter deck. It's just, once again, a really good card in terms of if it's trash, you're able to delete an opponent's Digimon based on your trash totals. So the higher your trash totals, the higher that this can actually delete. And once again, with this, effectively, you can load it back up, trash up, and delete the opponent's Digimon, which might be, in your way. And then on top of that, once again, his signature move is that you're able to effectively Evo. If you've got 20 more cards in trash, basically gain the memory and then unsuspend, which once again really strong. Definitely run that as a one-off. I really had to try and squeeze this card in, just because originally I wasn't going to put it in, but I'm like, it's such a good card. Like, it really is a good card. These two are really kind of like your top end options, depending on the situation. They're both pretty strong in terms of what they're trying to do for the deck. So that concludes that for the megas. So going over to the options, we've had to really refine this to kind of make space for the other stuff. But some stuff I'm kind of experimenting, and I'll explain why I'm kind of experimenting with these cards. So obviously the mainstay, and you can see I've actually reduced this down to 3 instead of 4. I still like Death Slinger at 4, so this was a really hard choice for me to kind of reduce this down. It is purely just down to space, but the reason why I do like Death Slinger is because it's so memory efficient in terms of what it does, in terms of like deleting Digimon based on your trash total. So it can delete a level 4 or lower by just not having anything in trash. But if you have, say, 10, it deletes level 5. You have 20, deletes level 6. The reason why this is actually quite strong in this meta is because there's a lot of cards which just have protection from Digimon effects, but not necessarily options. And this is where I feel like Beelzemon is quite strong in that sense, because it just has such good removal. Makes your security absolutely spicy. So, if the opponent's going to be swinging in, realistically, if they've not got protection against all effects, they're pretty much going to just meet a Death Slinger or a Revival's Barrage, which we do run that at a solid 3. Really good card. I don't think you necessarily need to run 4. If you want to run 4, run 4. But Revival's Barrage is just great in order for us to essentially recur pieces. Awesome in security, awesome in your hand if you have to remove a big body. Very cost efficient there as well. It's just a really fantastic card. The good thing about this, though, is that with the new Blast Ace, effectively you could reload these back up and get them reused again, depending on how the game goes. So really good application in terms of the new Blast Ace. And if we've already executed these barrages by the delay effect, it means we can just reuse them again, which is really cool. The one I'm kind of testing at the moment is the new option, Bonds of True Love. We do currently run this at 2, and realistically, you could literally replace these with Scrambles. That's not a problem at all. I think Scrambles is a little bit more cost efficient and also kind of helps you kind of set up the plays, whereas this is kind of like your in-archetype Scramble in a sense, but slightly weaker and also cost more. I don't necessarily going to be using the on play or the actual the main effect to essentially trash top 2 cards in my deck and set this as a delay. But if this is trash from the top of your deck, though, you are able to essentially set it in your delay, that's what's really strong about this, because it is an archetype and we do trash a lot of cards. Just having this being trashed and kind of set by itself is what makes it strong. But I must admit, Scramble, if it's protect out from security, I can be able to play out one of my Imps, not a problem. But it does have a start of your turn, similar to Scramble. If we don't have a Digimon, we can trigger its delay, and you're able to play an Impmon, and it's not Impmon in name, from your trash without paying the cost, which is nice. The fact that we do have an in-archetype Scramble is pretty sick, but I am just trying this out at the moment. 9 times out of 10 might flip back to Scramble, but I think this has been coming up quite nice, especially when I am kind of popping off and trashing a lot of cards, because we do trash a lot of cards in this particular list. Then we simply go with the 7th cluster. The 7th cluster, when you are at your Biel's X antibody, this just comes clutch to kind of get rid of bodies right there, and you're pretty much not really kind of, you know, going out your way to essentially use this effect. You're pretty much just doing your combo, and then boom, this effect pops off from trash, able to delete the opponent's lowest Digimon, which once again is very huge. Also in security, similar effect there as well, which is nice, and we're able to return this back to the bottom of our deck when we are using it with Beelzemon X antibody. Speaking of X antibody, we do run one X antibody option there as well. X antibody, really good. We've got ways to recur it. It's going to be helpful for us to essentially kind of attack, go into our Beelzemon X antibody, and then effectively trigger its when Digirolls effect to trash top of the opponent's security, depending on obviously our trash totals being the thing. And because we are obviously, you know, mid combo, we are triggering all our effects and so forth. We're building up that trash, and then effectively we can go and execute the X antibody effect to go into our Beelzemon X antibody. So really strong card, good in security as well. You know, gain the memory is always an absolute cheese when it does go off. But that concludes for the options. Now, lastly, going with the Tamers. Tamers, we do run the Faithful, and it's going to be the Iron Mako. Still running that at 3. It's just once again our consistency booster, so strong. We are just basically, you know, execute our game plan, even up our line, because we're able to suspend this, load a card to the top of our deck, and also gain the memory from doing so, which is just strong. Means that we can effectively really pop off and really go for our combos, depending if we go with like a, you know, put a Death Slinger back up. Effectively, when we start trashing, that is going to be then gains the memory, so we're going to claim back turn if necessary, because now with the new Iron Mako that we currently just run at 1, effectively the effect here is that we are able to warp into our Beelzemon if we have 20 more cards in trash. So that's why I've been referencing 20 cards being the sweet spot, is because that's where this effect kind of goes live. Realistically, I was thinking kind of bumping us up to 2, but I think you kind of just need 1. The thing that's really good with it though is that at the start of your main phase, if you have if your opponent has a Digimon, you are able to gain a memory, which is nice. Particularly this deck doesn't actually have a Tamer like that, so having access to something like that is quite sick in order for us to have a bit more memory when we are popping off. But like I say, the main effects enable us to effectively go into BLs for the cost of 4. Means that we can effectively go into our Beelzemon X and Beelzemon EX6, which will have Rush, which is powerful. And then if we do have these out, we can effectively suspend these and able to load up and gain some memory there as well to keep turn, and then effectively pop off. So very key card in order for the strat, but we only essentially just need 1, because we have cards that effectively, if it was to be trashed, we do have our Impmons from BT19 in order to effectively get this out if we've not got essentially, you know, already got 2 of these out already. So realistically, the setup is having probably an Iron Mako and this Iron Mako out, and then any others is essentially a bonus from that point. But that concludes for the Tamers and also deck profile. Let me know in the comments what you think. So there you have it, guys. Beelzemon laid out, spread, ready for you to tweak and adapt to your playstyle. So what do I think to Biels currently in this format? I feel like at the moment, obviously, since the hit, everyone kind of just abandoned Biels. Just like, you know what, it ain't high roll enough anymore, I'm done. And I personally think that it's pretty strong in this particular meta, so much because it's more the fact that it can kind of get around of Digimon effect protection. Like, realistically, we have plenty of options that can just pop a Digimon, and everything's kind of going a bit more ace driven. So us to just use our options to just pop and basically, you know, do shit for cheap is actually pretty nice. I feel like the EX6 BLs is just aged like a fine wine. Like, absolutely such a powerful card. And the reason why I'm running it at 3 is just because it's just so good. It's great at trashing, it's great at Digirolls, it's got a nice control element there, which is awesome. And it's something that the opponent has to always play around. If they're going to delete our stack, we now have retaliation, so if they're going to swing into us, they're going to also die as well. And we can essentially just respawn into our Beelzemon EX6 and Digiroll something else, which is just once again disrupting the opponent's plays, which is nice. The new blast mode is quite interesting. I initially saw it, I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be great in practice, but actually in practice, to just load up all the actual options there to just effectively, you know, gain a ton of memory. We can gain a ton of memory by loading up some Wizardmons there as well. It is crazy how much memory gain you can get, and how we can effectively just play out an Hitmon and then just trigger Iron Mako to effectively Evo and then go in and hopefully, you know, rush for game and whatever. Obviously, we do have the X antibody. It just comes super clutch. We have ways to interact with our trash. We have now ways to effectively play our Tamers from the trash, which is pretty huge. And then we do have an in-archetypal Scramble, which, granted, you know, doing its main effect is not exactly great, but getting it in, like, trashed from the top of your deck is fantastic. Absolutely great value, and we have ways to effectively get that in the top of our deck there as well. So overall, I think the deck is solid. Granted, EX2 MP is restricted to 1 for good reason. It's just such a powerful card, but realistically, the 1 is just enough. We've got ways to recur it, we've got ways to stack it on top of our deck. We can high roll with that bad boy. It's not a problem at all. But guys, let me know what you think to the new direction of BLs. Drop a comment in the box. Always love engaging with you guys. But guys, stay safe, stay fly, and I'll catch you next one. D Dread, off the mic.